Okay. I would like to call the Planning Commission meeting for Tocqueville City to order. It is 6:01 maybe. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Harrison.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and we're going to have an opening prayer by Commissioner Chamberlain.
Actually, I'm going to do a statement of belief.
Okay.
I believe that Tocqueville is a strong and beautiful city. I am grateful for the mountains, the sky, the earth, and the creek running through our town. I love the people in our town and consider it a privilege to associate with them. I hope that peace and prosperity will flourish here. I am grateful for the stewardship and opportunity to serve on the Planning Commission. I express gratitude for my fellow commissioners, the City Council, and the support staff of the city who all care deeply about our community and its people. I acknowledge their dedicated service. As I raise my children here, I hope our shared work will lay a foundation for a positive and sustainable future for them and for all who may live or come to live here. May we be thoughtful and successful tonight in our efforts.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Okay, I need a motion to approve the agenda order.
I motion that we approve the agenda order.
I second. Okay, and vote. Glenn, start with you. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Commissioner or
Yes.
Chairman, I'm sorry. Did you pass by number 4, disclosure?
Oh, disclosures and declaration of conflicts from commission members. I did, thank you.
Good catch, Dan.
Okay, good catch, yeah. Anyone? Okay. Okay, now we'll go on to, did you all get a chance to review the minutes from February 12th Planning Commission meeting?
Yes.
I did. I thought they looked good.
Okay,
I thought they looked good too.
me too. Yeah, great. Okay, so I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes from the February meeting.
I second it.
Okay, and
Aye.
then Glenn?
He said aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And reports. I have nothing to report. Any of the commissioners have anything to report?
Nothing for me.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to Emily, Planning and Zoning Administrator.
Other than what's on the agenda tonight, I can report that we're almost complete with the MPDO modification policy that we had the work meeting about. So hopefully that will be in front of council next week. And then we still have a few draft ordinances that are being modified by the attorneys and I. And then still have a few that I'm researching and working on, like the ADU and the livestock and things like that. So
Okay,
just moving forward on that stuff.
good. All right. And then we'll move on to Darren, the Assistant City Manager.
So really quickly, just kind of more of an engineering projects update is throughout the city, you've now seen quite a bit of work happening on the other side of the freeway. That's Boulder Ridge, that subdivision that was approved. Working on, they're going right ahead. One of your agenda items tonight, IME is getting ready to start doing their utilities and building their building. You'll see also the Water District has now got their Clomar clearances through FEMA. And so they have the green light there to go through and start doing all of the work that they need to do to build that dam and build Tocqueville Reservoir.
Oh, good.
So that's a 2-year project from starting about right now. I think actually the contract started a month and a half ago.
Okay.
But yeah, they're moving along. You'll see a little bit of blasting up on top of the ridge. They're taking the basalt rock from up there and they're using that for the base of the dam. And then they'll also see a little bit of disturbance there in the Anderson Junction area across from Anderson Junction Road. They're grabbing some of that dirt is better for actual compaction and things because they've got a lot of sand down actually where the reservoir is being built. the North Parkway. So you'll see some traffic there. They're going to have some traffic, those temporary traffic lights that we all love to see. They're on and off through. They get that as they get a lot of that. You'll see it less and less. But then we also have Sapp Brothers, the travel center, will be beginning their permanent stoplight. We're hoping within the next 2 months.
Okay.
So hopefully see that. They're pushing for being open in the fall. We hope that all their timelines and all their everything that they needed to clear with UDOT works. The north tie-in for the bypass road to be able to get down to, so UDOT has agreed to let the Firelight have that north tie-in, and they can only go down, so you'll be able to go down the parkway to their subdivision, and that's as far as you'll be able to go. You won't be able to go all the way through. The actual parkway, there's a couple of still things that they're working on there. On that south side, you can obviously see the cuts that they're cutting that north slope back to not quite such a steep slope. And then there's also a slope in the middle of the project that's not seen very readily, which is called the sand pocket, where they've done the work to remediate the sand that's been sliding out and things like that, but they're a little bit concerned. There's a little bit of a ledge, kind of what they call it, a concrete type of material that they're worried is going to break off and fall down and be a fall hazard. So they're working on mitigating that. The geotechnical engineers and UDOT's geotech group are working together to come to a complete answer on what they need to finalize there. We are, knock on wood, have a general hope to have the parkway done by the end of the summer. That's the best we can do right now. The contractor will get us, once they have a final fix on that sand pocket, they'll get us a final, a final calendar, final submittal for that, and try to nail that date for completion to be done. But they need a few more answers before they can know what they've got to do as far as applying the amount of construction work to what they need to do on those.
So it sounds like the sand pit area is going to be the last thing that's probably done, because they'll probably finish the south
Well,
end.
so they've still got to put a 2-inch overlay of asphalt.
Yeah.
And they've got to obviously stripe it. They've got a few things such as that they'll need to do. Then they'll take the temporary tie out at the north end. And as far as how they'll coordinate that with traffic, I'm not exactly sure, but I've heard that it'll be short, won't be as inconvenient as what their temporary slowdowns right through there are now.
Yeah.
So
Did they get that power rerouted? That was
they did do the repower. You see there is a wire still across there.
Mhm.
That is TDS.
Oh.
And TDS was supposed to come down with them, but TDS has been quite a bit slower. They've had to reroute their infrastructure through Laverick and up the south side of the Tokerville Estates area. And then they're going also in the same conduit that they did, where you see where they put the project from Choya Creek up through and across that, the field there just north of the cemetery. So that's all power. That's not anything to do with any subdivisions or anything like that. That was just a power line.
Rerouting.
Yeah. And they put it into what might be possibly close to the finished grade of possible that future subdivision. So that's why it looks like there's a big kind of trench down through there. So
Yeah,
anyway, that's just temporary.
that'll give the subdivision a little bit of a boost, won't it?
Yep. So I think as far as all of that, unless you guys have any questions for me, that's what's going on.
Is that dam all earth and material, or is that going to be concrete as well?
They've already paid, they've concreted the keyway. The keyway they did a while back.
Mhm.
So there's a big keyway in there. I can't remember. It's like about 12 feet wide by 15 feet, just concrete and rebar in the keyway. And so what they do is they dig a big trench and then put all that concrete stuff. And they tie the basalt rock into that. And then they go up from there with the different layers of material. And then, the bottom of the pond, if you want to call it that, will be lined with clay from an outside source. So they'll be bringing trucks in from an outside source.
So that'll keep it semi-permeable.
Yeah, it's still, they need it to not to just, because sand isn't a very good filter or fabric.
And of course, they're going to take all the trees and everything out, right?
Yeah,
Or
so they've been grubbing it out. They got a burn permit a few weeks back.
Oh,
And you probably saw, maybe some people have seen that along the freeway as you was driving there. They were burning that big the grubbing pile. So when they talk about grubbing, that's to going in and removing the trees and vegetation from outside where the reservoir will be. So
and the big white tent thing on the north end.
so that's just a
just temporary?
that's just a temporary place for the contractors to be able to maintain their equipment.
Okay.
And that they have a temporary office there as well, construction trailers and things. So
Oh, interesting.
a big
Sounds
project.
Yeah, yeah. We have a couple of big projects going on.
Yeah, we have two projects over $1 million, or over $40 million
Yeah,
in Tokerville.
for Little Tokerville.
And then it's-
Okay.
And neither one of them are Tokerville City.
Yeah, that's good.
Not our money anyway.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, we will move on to the business items. E1, discussion and possible recommendation on a nightly rental application submitted by Jeffrey Thomas, tax ID T-TACC-2. Current zoning is R120, single family residential. Emily?
You want me to introduce it? Okay. Yep, this was a nightly rental application submitted by Jeffrey Thomas. For a long time, we didn't have any available, right? We had reached our max, and then we just had 2 drop off at the same time. So there were people on the wait list. He was first. The application he submitted was complete, so it did check all those boxes that are required by our ordinance, including he'll be the emergency contact. They didn't designate a property manager because they'll be there on site. We have a site plan, which you can see there. They passed a fire safety inspection, and they have the parking requirements, which is 4 9x18 stalls. At least they have 5 that you can see up there. And then 2 of them at least have to be designated for the nightly rental only. It is not within 500 feet of another nightly rental, so it checks that box as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And it is in a permanent structure, and it's attached at the roof line to the main dwelling.
Okay,
Just a breezeway there.
okay. Any questions from commissioners before we open the public hearing?
I do have a question. I don't know if Jeffrey's here tonight. Is this the only rental he owns and only rental property he owns in the city?
Yes,
He is
Okay.
here.
You or any of your business entities?
yeah, the only one.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Emily answered mine.
Discussions? Okay.
I have a question. Is this property in the Choya Creek HOA or no?
It's not within the HOA, it's in those grandfather lots that were built prior to the HOA formation.
Okay.
It's not a little side street, right? So. Okay. All right.
Can we elaborate on that? When are we allowed to speak?
In-
The public meeting,
hearing.
Okay,
in just a minute, I'm going to open it up. Yeah. Okay, if there's no other comments?
I don't have any questions for now yet.
Okay.
Any other questions?
All right. Then I'm going to open the public hearing. Public input is sought on a nightly rental application submitted by Jeffrey Thomas, tax ID T-TACC-2. Current zoning is R120, single family residential. If you want to speak, please step up to the mic, say your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes each.
thank you, esteemed commission, neighbors, friends. My name's Dale Rasmussen. I live at 1509 Chola, and I'm representing the Chola Creek HOA. Other members of the board are here tonight. And as you know, Chola Creek is an HOA, and we pride ourselves in maintaining our community, of being very open and very family friendly. If you drive through, you notice we don't have fences built up in between our lots. We maintain the creek and the creek trail, and we are very proud of where we live, and we love where we live. And I've read through the ordinance that was passed and that was reviewed here, and but still want to express the board's opinion that they would rather not have an Airbnb inside on the street of Cholla Creek, where we do have the HOA properties both beyond and before. You know, like we mentioned, those grandfathered lots are right in the middle of the subdivision, and there's no Airbnb allowed per the HOA CCNRs. So to express the desire of the HOA board on behalf of the Cholla Creek HOA and the members, we would recommend not approving the Airbnb in that neighborhood. There were concerns brought up along the lines of it's an in and out, one way in and out of that subdivision. A little bit of concern for traffic, and also for, you know, just the trail that we have is for HOA use, and managing and monitoring the trail when we have unknown guests and people who are in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask one question? Are you aware whether the roads within the HOA are public or private?
They are public. I have them
They're public.
here, and I can
Okay.
send you a copy.
So the access road is public?
The access road is public, and actually the property is on a private lane. So
It's on a private
the
lane.
city and the HOA doesn't have any jurisdiction over that.
Okay, thank you.
Can we see a larger map?
Well, yeah, like
Yeah, so we can see where the road is in and out of the exit.
in other words,
Oh, you want to like
reduce it so we can see the.
Yeah, not
surrounding-
enlarge it, but I mean like, see more of the context. A different map where you can see the neighborhood and where the HOA is.
Okay, that, we need to probably do that after the public hearing. So let's let everybody talk, and then we can just discuss that in a minute. Sure. Okay, go ahead.
My name is Gail Fitzpatrick, and I also am on the board of the HOA Cholla Creek, and I live within 300 feet of the proposed nightly rental. And so I received the letter and the information in the mail, which some of the members that are in the HOA did not receive. I voiced the same concerns that Dale just discussed. I also have a question. What part of the house is going to be the nightly rental? Is it the main house or a casita?
No.
It says a
It's
casita.
this casita right here.
See, right, she's got the marker, she's just,
But it's attached to the house.
So that is a casita with a breezeway that I believe it is attached to the house.
right,
Yes.
with the roof, yes, correct.
Okay. My one concern I also have is the house, the outside of the house and the landscaping. None of it is complete. Are you aware of that? And the parking places are just dirt parking places. They're not paved or cement or anything. So also the rock is not complete on the outside of the house where there's room to finish the rock. And my concern mainly is that, like Dale said, we have an HOA, we maintain the park area, we maintain the trees along the park and the safety of the park. And anybody that's staying at his nightly rental would have access to all of that when he is not a part of the association and helping to fund it or maintain it or any part of that. And the nightly rental people may not know that they should not have access to it and would not be covered under any insurance plan or anything if something should happen. And there is an open body of water that's flowing, which is the creek. And that's a concern also. So anyways, that's pretty much.
All right, thank you.
My name's Jack Alexander, 1300 Cholla Drive there. Pretty much the same thing that Gail and Dale just said. The problem we have is we have a small group that's not a HOA that reap the benefits of the HOA. They live in a beautiful HOA neighborhood. They can enjoy the path, the trails. They've been on them. I see that. And what we've ran into in the future, Tocqueville puts a bridge across between Trail Ridge. So just to tell you what happens to our trail now, Trail Ridge believes, even though it's our private property, that it's theirs. So when you bring all those dogs and you don't clean up after them, these are things we contend with, that we clean up after people, okay? And I live right next to the bridge and I watch the people day after day and I say hi and I'm friendly to them, but I'm thinking, this is private property. We have signs. So none of that's enforced and you don't want to be rude and you don't want to be mean. But again, you get people that come into this thing, they don't know and they don't have a clue. And we've ran into that already with people at our private park. And again, you just don't mind some of the people coming in, but it is an HOA. So I think as an HOA, when you reap the benefits of it, you need to respect that same HOA that you're in. Anyway, that's what I feel about it. Like I said, it's pretty much most of the people I've talked to in the neighborhood. We don't want more traffic. It's just like the rest of Tokerville. We've only been here 7 years, but my gosh, the growth in the traffic is terrible. And we don't want to see that anymore either. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Melissa James. I live at 1502 South Cholla. And like the others, I agree with everything they've had to say. My big concern is we live at the top of Cholla. So as you come into Cholla, everybody that comes in our subdivision, every single person beyond the first 5 houses has to go by my house. And the speed limit is 20, 25, or 40, ask them. And typically we're late and everybody's running late and going short, running a short. But there's a boy across the street from me that's highly autistic. We don't have a sign out about him. He's gotten away several times. We've had search parties for him. I mean, it's a continuous thing. And my big concern is for Wiley and his safety. You get people coming in, there's no, autistic child at play or anything like that there. The speed limits are not being followed. We don't have police officers that come patrol that area, even though they could do very well there. And so my big concern is mostly for his well-being. And we also have several stops along there where the school bus drops off kids. And we have kids by the gazillions walking down the street. We don't have sidewalks in Cholla. So strange cars coming and going, nightly rentals, you can see where there would be a problem with that. So that's my additional concern as far as that goes.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. And commissioners, do you have questions, comments?
I have a question about the park. I know there's a park in Trail Ridge, and you mentioned the bridge that goes from Cholla Creek to there. Is the park in Trail Ridge, isn't that a public park?
There's 2 parks. We have our own in Cholla Creek, and then across the bridge in Trail Ridge, there's a big Tokerville Park that belongs to the city of Tokerville.
So there's 2 parks, and the one in Cholla is private.
Ours is not a huge park with all that. It's a nice manicured area with a picnic table and a couple things, and it's just our private little area. So I call it a park because that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
But it's not a Tokerville Park. It's Cholla.
Yeah, when we talk about it as an HOA, we talk about the park area, which has a couple picnic benches and.
We maintain that. We pay a gardener to take care of it. It's a big upkeep on it. And that's why sometimes it gets disturbing to see all other people and when they leave their trash and such, that we take care of because it is private property. But what are you going to do?
Well, the bridge has allowed the non-private people more access to it. Yeah, because the bridge is public, so there's a lot more access from Trail Ridge people and people that go to the park, because I know there's people that go to the park that are not part of either community, but yet they still utilize those.
Yeah, because it's a public park.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Sorry. I have a couple of questions for the applicant. Will pets be allowed?
No pets will be allowed.
Okay. And would it be possible for you to make a little map and include in your hospitality materials of what's the public versus the private part to show
I was just thinking that as
respect
well.
for the HOA? Okay.
That could be a condition. That could be a condition of your recommendation, I think.
How,
Yeah, okay.
how many homes in the Choya neighborhood are not members of the HOA?
There's
I mean,
about,
Seven. 4 homes.
4 homes?
I think there's more. I think there's about, yeah.
There's 7 homes, I counted.
Are they all in that same area?
It's
where-
all in that same area around
Well,
us.
actually, there's 8.
There's a lot right there. You can see April Brinkhurst, that one does not have a house on it, but that is not in the HOA and could
Okay.
potentially have another home on it.
But it would be grandfathered in,
Mhm.
not part of the HOA. So potentially,
Well, there's the ones on the other side of the road also.
Yeah.
On Choya Creek, there's 1, 2, 3 houses on the other side of Choya, and there's 1, 2, 3 where you are plus 4.
Yeah.
There's 4 on that side.
So
And
there's
the
some,
only other home that's not in the HOA is the halfway house down on King Circle.
Right.
That's the only, and there's 66 homes in the HOA.
okay. So potentially, how many homes could have an Airbnb?
Well, with this one, because it's within 500 feet of all those homes, it would stop
This would be
that.
the only one.
This would be the only one.
Which, I mean, about a year ago, Dennis Tolman on the corner, who is in the HOA, he came to me asking me, do you have it yet? Do you have the permit yet? And I hadn't even applied. I wasn't even thinking about it yet.
Yeah.
Because he said, I mean, there's houses there that may become available and may become a party house. And we don't want that either.
Right.
This is limited to basically a studio casita with at most 2 people could stay there, 1 car. And so it really reduces how many vehicles, how many people can come in there, and it's 2 people. They're going to be coming, hiking throughout the day, coming at night to go to bed and then wake up and go explore again the next day. And I mean, obviously, I don't want this to be. I mean, these are my neighbors too, and I've had pretty good conversations with those around me. I have not had conversations with those here or anyone else within the HOA, but those around me seem supportive of it for that reason. So
Can you point out your property on that GIS map? Is it shown up
it
there?
has the circle on it. the
Okay, it has
yellow
a circle on it. Okay.
And yeah, we did start an addition and remodel of the home. We're still in the middle of it. I was doing a lot of myself, but just work has gotten busy, and it's expensive too. It's really expensive to build a house and to remodel. So this would be a great help to finish our home. The plan isn't to start renting this off right off the bat because obviously I want it to look better and feel better. And so we wanted the application to do it right, to go through the right process. We haven't done a nightly rental before on this property. We're trying to make sure it was going through the right process. So we wanted to make sure it's all done right, and hopefully doing this would stop any big rental coming into the HOA.
So I'm just trying to get my bearings about me. So if you zoom in a little bit, that main road, I can't see the name of it.
Yeah, so
Choya Drive, that's part of so that's a public road that runs through the HOA.
Correct.
And then what about that property to the, I don't know which direction we are, but with the pool in the backyard? Is that one part of the association?
No, that one's not it either.
Okay, so which homes aren't part of the association and which ones are? Where's the group that's not?
all back in that corner.
That corner, okay. Okay.
So these 7.
If you turn off the ortho photo and turn on the subdivision, it will just show just the
Oh, that'd be
subdivision.
helpful.
Just the lots. It's on the right there. Yep. Okay, so everything that's in the blue is part of the subdivision. Everything that is not part of the subdivision.
Okay.
The green and the purple kind of purple
What's
colors.
the red? is that?
That red, that one there is not either.
It's not.
It's a lot split.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a little subdivision there.
And they're all
You're
within
on.
500 feet of each other.
Okay.
Yeah, when preparing the envelopes, it was all those homes included and within 500 feet and a few more.
Well, I think it's within 300 feet and I think there were 18
Yeah,
properties,
those are all
right?
within the 300 foot boundary.
Within 300 feet.
one question for you.
You have to approach the microphone.
Come to the microphone.
If he's granted the permit and he decides to move and buy another place in Tokerville, so he'd still be a Tokerville resident, could he then rent out the rest of the house as a nightly rental as well as, okay, that's a good.
He could rent the house as a long-term rental, but
Okay,
not as.
not a nightly rental. Could he ever make the main house a nightly rental and live in the casita?
You'd have to do another application.
You would have to do a different application.
You have to
for
do a
that.
separate permit.
Because my concern is a party house. If you have a big house with,
Yeah, yeah. Well, we understand all of your concerns. We have to vote by the ordinance, though. We have to go by the ordinance. And so I just want you all to understand that. We have sympathy for your opinions, but we are bound to go by what the ordinance is. So, any other questions, commissioners? Okay.
Public hearing's closed.
Maybe Dan James, 1502 Choya. Maybe this isn't part of it, but the lots, your lot is in the middle of the tree there.
Yes.
And that was, all the lots in the hill area are at least a minimum half acre. By putting them two houses in there, they shrunk that down. They're not even close to being half acre lots. So they're price about that whole section of land there, I guess, and subdivided. Somebody in the planning commission allowed that to happen, and there's nothing we can do about it. So we got large lots, and now we got some small lots in the neighborhood, and
much more congested.
a minimum are 1/2 acre and 1 acre lots.
We understand that. We are trying to keep Tokerville to half acre lots, but there are sections in the city that are not. And that, a lot of that happened before we got on the planning
Is that new
commission.
lots or old lots?
I don't,
So, well, that's a kind of a different discussion for a different
right,
thing, but yeah,
Yes.
and the Reader's Digest answer to that is our smallest zoning is R112.
right.
So we do go down to 12,000 square foot lots. Somebody can come in and make an application for that. Whether they get that or not, there's a lot of different criteria, just as this ordinance has a lot of different criteria. But that's just kind of a, like I said, real quick, yes.
Drive by it, and all of a sudden you see three houses right next to each other, just right on top of each other.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a comment. I'm in real estate professionally, so I can see both sides really. Like I understand the HOA and how it protects property value and protects the people that live there. There's a unique situation here though, because there is that property right in the middle of your HOA. And so, those properties there have a different set of, I guess, rules that they can follow. And, but the way I see it is, it's kind of a blessing to you to get this permit because like he said, it's only going to be a couple people staying there and he's going to agree to have no pets and that will preclude anybody else from putting, a nightly rental in that area because the 500.
Blessing.
Well, it's the, yeah, actually.
It's the lesser of two evils, how's that?
Well, it's not even an evil. It's just, Tokerville has been real careful about the rules with nightly rentals, the 500 feet, and we don't want to become saturated by them. But there are two more spaces now available. And it sounds like he's being really thoughtful in keeping it small. And I liked what Councilman Chamberlain said about making sure that his guests know that they need to go to the public park if they want to enjoy the
Can I
park.
speak one more time?
Pardon me?
My 3 minutes up.
Well,
This
the
is just
public,
really
You know
go
what?
ahead.
Hear this real quick.
Go ahead.
You guys kept trail ridge out of our park? Good luck.
I don't have the authority to do that.
No, and you don't with him either. So that's what I'm getting at. These rules don't get enforced.
Yeah, that's another,
So,
It's another
Problem, no.
discussion.
yeah, so we, always come and file a complaint and we'll have to go through the code enforcement process.
We tried that one too. So anyway, that's it.
We do have a code enforcement officer now, though, and we haven't had until
Well,
just,
We have to get something done with that and it's not working. We have other problems, so
Okay.
that's fine.
I would just like to say, I do think this applicant has shown some good qualities as far as being the manager of the property, because we have had people in the past who were here because they were already violating the rules. They hadn't applied for a permit. But the fact that his immediate neighbors aren't here because he already talked to them, to me, is also a good sign. It means that he's been proactive in communicating.
Well, he's one of the best neighbors we got. I don't.
Okay.
I just have my, yes.
Yeah.
okay.
Well, we're glad you're here because you care.
Yeah.
All of you are.
That's good.
So we appreciate
yeah, I think you're doing a great job in your HOA, by the way.
There's only one thing. I have been a nightly rental owner before, and I know as the landlord or the person who's renting it out, there's only so much you know about the people coming in. And that's a concern with our close neighborhood, is that it opens it up. But you could look at that as family and friends coming to visit also. So, I mean, that is just why we're concerned, you know, it's just.
Yep, we understand that.
I understand
We
that.
we understand.
What can you
We
do?
all have nightly rentals close to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have several on High
You're
Street.
not the only ones, okay? So
What,
we get
what can
that.
you do to mitigate that issue as far as, I mean, is there anything that you can do to, control that or?
That's my wife's main concern too. We're the ones right next to it, so they're coming right on our property, so.
Right.
We're the ones that are gonna be watching the closest on who's coming in and making sure that they're not causing ruckus.
I have one of the ones right next to me is my good friend, and she opens it up to one night ones, and she said she hardly sees them. They come, they stay, they go to the park. I know you can limit it to like a week or whatever, but she has found that that is a good way to keep people, like the traffic even on her property is light because they're just come and gone. It's just one thing.
Okay.
Just something to keep in mind. You can recommend with conditions if you feel there's anything that would mitigate.
Yep.
I mean, as you know, some of the things that were discussed tonight.
I'm ready to make a motion unless anyone else has further comments.
I think we're ready.
I move that we recommend approval of this application with the condition that he includes a map of the private versus public parks to communicate with the people who come and stay.
I second that.
Okay, let's take a vote, starting with Glenn.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We will pass this on to city council with a recommendation to pass it with those conditions.
Thank you for listening to our concerns. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. We all love Tokerville and we all want to keep Tokerville how it is, so.
Morning would be better.
Okay, we are going to go on to business item E2.
10:30, somewhere in there.
Discussion and possible approval of a preliminary site plan application submitted by IME Holdings. Current zoning is BMP Business and Manufacturing. Okay.
Sarah Paul is here. So you guys know he received a zone change last year for this property, and they're putting a light manufacturing plant on there. If you wanted him to speak, you could invite him to, but the site plan has been submitted and the construction drawings have been submitted. The site plan meets all of the zoning requirements, and he did meet all of the other requirements for the application. The construction drawings have had red lines. Those have been corrected, so they're almost all signed.
Okay.
The only thing on the construction plans that we don't have is the engineer's signature. I will be getting that tomorrow afternoon. We've had conversations back and forth on the red lines of mostly just drainage things. So, yeah. for
Okay.
that.
So in looking at this, I noticed that there's phase 1, 2, and 3. And this is just for phase 1. And in fact, you're only doing part of the building for phase 1. Is that correct?
So actually, our growth has exceeded our expectations. We're doing the full building right now.
Oh, you are? Okay.
20,000 square feet.
Okay.
There's 16,000 on the floor, and then we have a double-story office space.
Okay.
And the construction plans show that.
Okay.
They reflect that. The phase 1 or phase 2 and 3 will not be built yet.
I've already applied for a building permit, so that's going through that process as well.
Oh, phase 2 has?
Just for this one.
Phase 1,
Just this
yeah.
one.
Okay. All right, good.
I pulled the deed for this property and it looks like just a small sliver was recently transferred, like in January.
Yes.
Can you explain what that is?
So the property right above us in that map right there, has a couple of structures on it. Their lower structure is just a trailer house and it's within 6 feet of the property line, and we took their entire driveway.
Okay.
They had built across onto our side of the property, being it was kind of vacant, they took advantage of that. And I made an agreement with them to give them, if you can see, there's a little tiny pie above mine, I'll show you on the map right here. Little tiny pie, right up there. We traded 12 feet from here
Okay.
to the front, so he could keep his driveway.
Got it.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
all that was.
Cool. Well, that's
all that
nice.
was for.
That's great.
Gotta
Okay.
be good neighbors, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
I like that.
Yep, that's great. And we're excited to have your company here. That'll be great.
Super excited for us. The funny thing is that all of our local clientele are in Cedar City, so that's just closer to Cedar.
Oh, yeah.
Love
Cool.
the location.
I'm new here, so what are we manufacturing?
So we are a robotics company.
Okay.
We integrate, actually called it the integration company. We integrate robotics and other automation. We integrate robotics and other automation equipment into the manufacturing process. So we are traveling the entire country and actually going global with some of our work. So it's going to be a pretty big deal.
Wow. And some great employment
Yeah,
opportunities for
definitely.
Tokerville.
4 years ago, we had one, my partner, and now we have 20 some odd.
Wow.
Good for
So
you.
it's serious growth.
Good.
Okay. And you anticipate how long before you open up?
I'm trying to make sure this is right now. I'll be appropriate, I apologize. So if we can get a building permit right away, I anticipate no more than a 7-month build, provided the supplies aren't a problem. So 7 months, we should be able to move in, or something less is my hope. And honestly, phase 2 and phase 3, we're talking about combining those into one building, and I don't see that too far out in the future in reality.
Wow,
That's good news for you. Yeah.
Yes, it is. So if you draw a map, a bubble from Salt Lake to Phoenix to California, we're the only integration company in that bubble.
Wow.
And
Wow.
but that's not the real thing, is that we're doing work in North Carolina and all across the country. So really, that's not a big thing. But there's nobody like us in this bubble. So
Wow.
it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's great. Very cool.
Do you anticipate those other buildings to be similar size and?
No, we actually, depending on if we can get the parking for it, we'll maximize the square footage based on how many parking spaces we can fit in there.
Gotcha.
But there's enough room for 70,000 square feet up there and a small parking lot. We'll just see what that really comes out.
So when they come in, they have to take into account landscaping, parking, drainage, all the different things that they need that will really dictate what they have, and utilities. They've got the existing power poles right through their backyard too. So.
Anyways, but there's room for quite a lot of expansion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Awesome.
Okay, well, that's exciting.
Yeah, it is. That's good news.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners?
Everything looked in order to me. Looks good to me.
Looks good to me.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
before I would say that just if you're not conditionally, but if you do make a motion, that it would include that we finish the process of getting the construction the construction drawings complete and any other, those final things that we need to get complete before.
Okay.
So is that,
Yeah, you summarized it perfect.
okay, something like that?
Always do.
Yeah, okay,
That, just make that a motion with it, so,
okay.
because you guys are the final.
Okay.
Okay, I move to approve the preliminary site plan submitted by IME Holdings, especially as they finish up the plans. And that's all I know to say for that. Did I-
Conditions.
Oh, and conditions. Okay.
On condition
Oh, on conditions, sorry.
of getting
On
the
condition of-
construction drawings.
Finishing the drawings and, which includes grading plans, landscaping plans, utility plans, site plan. But it's all been submitted, but it's still out there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, those have all been submitted. There's a few minor changes, but usually the applicant would come in and do all of this first. We just got a little bit behind. You would have the preliminary site plan approval first, and then they would start construction
Okay,
plans.
got
When
And
they
I'm
go
still
to
learning too, so.
yeah, when they go to a final site approval. But this final site approval is through staff, when staff,
Yeah,
meaning
right.
planning and the attorneys.
Okay.
I second that.
Okay. Let's take a vote then. No one that has any other questions or discussion? Okay. Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay.
Okay, business item E3, discussion and possible approval of a sign permit application submitted by Yesco on behalf of Sapp Brothers. And Emily, do you want to
Yeah.
tell us about this?
So I don't know how in depth you looked into your packet, but they've got a lot of signs that they submitted. And I pulled up the sign code for you on all your computers, but it's very restrictive. It doesn't take in mind commercial businesses.
Right.
Something that we should look at after this is done.
Yeah.
So they submitted a long narrative detailing, why those signs didn't meet our ordinance, because we are expecting that you will have to deny the application because of that. And then their path forward from there would be to apply for a variance. So none of them did match just based on color or size or lighting. Something on every sign, unfortunately, didn't fit. And it's because of their branding for this particular company and the location. There was really no way for them to get the signs in within our ordinance. Even with some of the concessions they made, it still wasn't within maybe the square footage or the colors.
Yeah.
So I guess if you have any questions for them moving forward or questions for me,
But
from
we
what was in
have
the
no commercial application for our sign ordinance, right?
There is some in there, but it doesn't give them any wiggle
Minimal.
room.
Not
really.
very clear.
Right.
There's not really a lot. of
There's not really a
information to even
situation
go
in
on.
the ordinance that contemplates this type of
Yes.
use.
Right.
It's very
Yeah.
simple.
Well, and how old is the ordinance? I mean,
I don't know.
Tokerville's been a
For
pretty sleepy
residential.
little town for a lot of years.
Yeah.
So I think it was
Definitely might know,
considering
but I can't
the
remember.
signs
Yeah,
maybe in town and on the boulevard because they wanted it to blend in,
Right.
not have bright colors, things like that. But
Right.
all of those businesses out by the highway and along the parkway will
So
have
it
signs.
was originally adopted when Ken Powell was mayor. So
Okay.
it's
been
been
a while.
quite a
That's
while.
been a minute.
A while, yes.
But there might have been some amendments to it, but they've just been minor.
Yeah.
It looks like most of them were made in 2012.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
quite a
Yeah.
So would it be better to just change the ordinance altogether or?
Yes, but that's going to take some time.
It
Yeah.
will take too long, so a
And-
variance probably
So
would be
variance is
better
the
if
best.
we're not up
quicker.
Got it.
And they need to get going on construction just because they're getting so close to finishing out there.
It says here it could be granted with a variance, but I
Yeah.
have
So
a question for Darren about that, how that works.
So the variance, basically you guys, in the ordinance, it talks about that you guys are essentially the people who say yes or no. And then at that point, once the planning commission has made that determination of either no, then they can apply for a variance. Now, if the staff could say no, they could have just went right to a variance and not came through you guys.
Okay.
But it had to come to you guys first, is the way we understood it.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
then
You guys
once,
make the decision and then they have to appeal. Their right to appeal is to seek a variance based on a specific hardship associated with the particular property.
Sure.
Yeah.
And to get that variance, they have to go to who?
the appeals authority,
Appeal
who is
authority.
appeal authority, I'm sorry, yeah.
Oh.
And that's our appellate judge, I think is what he called it.
Administrative law judge.
Yeah,
Yes.
law judge.
Okay.
So,
Lynn Cresswell.
yeah,
It
we've
says here
done,
that's their preference though, right? To do that?
well,
Or-
It's
Well-
not really a preference type of thing. It's like you have to make an
Just a thing.
application and then you
Says
can
their
appeal. And your
And-
case for the appeal is you have to show what's unique about your property that you should be able to have signage that doesn't conform to the ordinance.
so basically, if the ordinance, if the application doesn't meet the ordinance, you guys cannot
We can't,
give them variances or go against the
Exactly.
code. You
right?
have to deny it, and then it has to go to the variance.
So
That's their quickest way,
Or appeal, and that is the
quickest
quickest.
way
It's the
through
most
right now.
efficient
It is,
with the code the way it is.
and I don't know exactly how that will end up. Emily's better at that. She's gone through the process once.
timing wise, it
twice.
really depends on Lynn, our appeal authority, but he thought, 45 days, maybe he could get that through. And it said that was their preference because either they'd have to conform to the code, which would be very hard for that business because of their branding,
Yeah,
or they have to get a variance.
yeah,
So they wouldn't be able to use any of these signs.
yeah. And that's such a big property. They've got to have a lot of signage.
Well, that,
I know, that's.
that, and it's the same thing as if, let's say a Maverick came in, and they wouldn't be able to put up all of their branding. I was
Right.
looking at the one in Laverick, and there isn't one sign they have over there that would meet our side court,
Right.
either by square
Mhm.
footage of
Yeah.
facing,
Yeah.
or it just, commercial needs to be commercial.
It
And it
does.
needs to be able to advertise that it's there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which our ordinance did not take into account.
Right.
That's probably something we need to take on then.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll
definitely.
start that revisions of that
Yeah.
just ASAP. And, but it
Which is not gonna
doesn't
help
help
them,
them
but-
right now, but I
Right.
think we do have a path forward for them.
Okay.
Oh, look what we learned.
Yeah, so it'll be up to Lynn. There's very specific conditions that he can use to grant a variance, so we'll see what the outcome is.
Okay,
Okay.
well,
I'm ready to make a motion unless anyone has further
Okay.
discussion.
Any other questions, discussion we need? No?
so
I move that we recommend denial and wish them good luck in their variance. Because we understand the hardship that you will face if they don't grant it to you, and so I hope you will get it.
yes.
You're just denying it, not recommending denial, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah,
we'll
let's
deny it.
let's do like a clean
I
motion where you
move
say like
that we
I recommend
deny
denial.
this application. Perfect. And wish them good luck with their variance, and we hope that they will get it. I second that.
Okay, and let's take a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Okay. I think that now we move on to business item E4. Thank you for being here, by the way. We didn't really have any questions for you, but it was nice that you were here anyway.
No, we were prepared, so we had it.
We understand.
The signage
Yes.
and know what we get to.
Yeah, I owned a business and had to deal with these kind of issues before, so important.
Okay,
Thank you.
Did,
And we're happy to have you in our city too, by the way.
Kelly, did you need to talk to Emily for a minute before you?
Yeah, we should have questions.
I think
Okay.
she'll be okay to.
Let's move on to E4, Open and Public Meetings Act training, which Kayla is going to do for us,
Okay,
right?
this is the part Todd came for.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
That's I need remedial.
Wait a minute.
No,
you were
Todd
here
already had to
last
go through
week.
this last week. No, you're good.
Yeah, I don't either, actually, because I was here last
You
week
were.
too.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thanks, Todd.
Okay. Okay, so we're required to do an Open and Public Meetings Act training every year. You guys are all nodding your head, you know this. So we're just going to go over a few key components of the act, kind of talk through some things, just to do a refresher, if you will. So first slide, key components of the act. So there's 4 important takeaways from the act. First is they want public to have access to public meetings, right? There's specific notice requirements, there's record keeping requirements, and then there's closed meeting requirements. We're going to focus on the first 2 because closed meetings don't come up as much with you guys, and record keeping we're going to leave to Emily. Okay, so purpose of the act is to ensure that actions are taken openly and that deliberations are conducted openly as well. So really important takeaway. One of the topics that comes up the most is the importance of a quorum and what that means. So a quorum is the minimum number of members required to conduct business. So if I say a quorum is required and a majority vote, well, I shouldn't use that. That's a confusing one. A quorum is required and a 3/4 vote. Those are 2 separate things, right? We need whatever numbers required for a quorum. So in this case, it'd be 3 commission members, and then the vote required is different. So that's why it matters. I hope I didn't lose you on that.
So the chairman here is a voting member, so
Yes.
it can't be like 3 commissioners and the chairman. You need to be careful as the chairman that you don't jump into hey, let's talk about this item. It's the type of thing.
Right. Okay. All right. So one of the most important parts of this act is that individuals who constitute a quorum, so 3 or more of you, cannot get together outside of a meeting and act in a concerted and deliberate way to predetermine an action. So that's a pretty loaded sentence. Let's try applying it. So first, when is a meeting? A meeting, so it's a gathering of a public body. You guys are a public body with a quorum present, so 3 or more people, 3 or more commission members it's convened for a purpose of receiving public comment, deliberating, taking action on a relevant matter. So let's do some hypotheticals, because where the quorum issue usually comes up is like discussions that maybe aren't in a commission meeting. So whether or not they're okay. So first hypothetical, during a deliberation in a city council meeting regarding whether to pass a new zoning law, a city council member texts her family member she'll be home late and they should eat dinner without her. What do you guys think about texting during commission meetings? Don't do it, right? Don't pull your phone out. Don't be on your phone, because if there's any argument that, which there is when you're in a commission meeting, that public business is being conducted, then your phone records can be subject to a grandma request. So no texting, no pulling out your phone, even if it's not to other commission members, just don't do it.
Yeah, like tonight I used mine to pull up the map because I wanted to get a better idea of like the Choi neighborhood,
So it's a tough one, right? But make sure not to do it, because from the public side, they'll just think, what's she talking about? They'll want to know. They won't know. So you want to avoid just anything that looks as though you're trying to circumvent these kind of requirements, right? Any deliberation, any conversation needs to be made openly into the microphone so everybody can hear it. Okay, next one. During a public meeting, 2 council members start to whisper between each other about a budget item being discussed. Not okay, right?
Not okay.
Leslie Knope is all.
Yeah, right. It's tempting sometimes to lean over to your neighbor and say, like, what did they say? Or just remember, from the public's perspective, they don't know what you're whispering about. So you want to make sure, even if you have a concern, that you're saying it into the microphone. Even if, and just making sure that everything can be heard. Okay.
Is that Leslie from Parks and Rec?
Yeah, Leslie Knope. Yeah.
All right, next one. A council member emails 2 other council members creating a quorum about a controversial zoning decision that will be discussed in an upcoming meeting. In the email, the council member expresses their opinion in support of the change, asks if they have any further questions, discuss before the meeting. So is this okay? No, right? So even though it's not a formal meeting, anytime you get 3 or more of the commission members together, it creates a quorum and you violate this Open and Public Meetings Act. So be really careful about that.
So no trips to Starbucks together.
Well, okay.
Well, as long as we don't.
Yeah. So don't talk about city business, right? Be really careful about those things. Yeah. I know it comes up. You guys end up together sometimes at meetings or not meetings, but just places or whatever. And you just want to be really careful about talking about public business, right? Okay. Next one, a council member visits the city's finance director to talk about an upcoming budget amendment. She then shares the information she learned with another council member that night when they see each other at their kids' baseball game and they discuss it. So this one says yes. I would probably still advise you to be pretty cautious about this, right? We're not creating a quorum, but just try to avoid the appearance that you're like making deliberations prior to the meeting, right? So technically, yes, it's okay, but just be careful about it, right? At the end of the day, you want to make sure that whatever your thoughts are on something, they're public. Yeah.
I just have one real quick question. So if a developer comes to a planning commissioner and says, hey, I just want to see what your feelings are on me changing the zone on my property. That's obvious. Is that a great idea, or is that something you?
They can do that. I think what I would just say is it'd be nice if you would report what that developer had talked with you about when it comes up in the meeting, right?
That's happened to me, and I just
yeah.
used the disclosures and declarations time to just say, hey, this person talks to me
Yeah.
outside of the meeting.
I think that's the right way to handle it. Yeah, because those things are going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Council member invites a couple of colleagues over to their house for a barbecue, creating a quorum. During the casual conversation, they briefly discuss a new piece of legislation that'll be voted on at the next meeting. The discussion is more of a check-in rather than a formal decision-making session. So no, we're talking about public business and we have a quorum, so just not okay. Okay, next topic, and I promise this is not a presentation that goes on forever. They told me to limit it to 10 minutes, so we're close, okay? Okay, so next topic, public comment. So just remember that one of the purposes of these meetings is to receive public comment. You guys are really good about that, just making sure everybody gets a chance to talk, right? As the chair, you may have opportunities where you might want to let somebody talk more than once, that sort of thing. So just keep in mind that public comment is important. But it's always important to remind members of the public that actions can only be taken on a listed agenda item, right? Okay, in terms of limiting public comment, you guys know you can impose time limits like we did tonight. You can, make sure that if there's disruptions, the chair can interrupt and establish a point of order, say, you're speaking out of turn, or, you violated your time limits, you've talked 10 times, something like that. You can do that.
That's hard.
It is hard, right? But you can say, we're well past our time limitation here, right? And you want to make sure you apply that equally. Don't let your favorite person get up and speak 10 times and then, somebody else wants. Okay, and then if you have somebody that's disruptive, you can.
Or that won't sit down.
Yes.
That's happened.
We've actually.
That willfully disrupts the meeting.
Yeah, we almost adjourned the meeting because they wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
It was so
And I was my first time being chairperson.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, so
That's why you're so good at it now.
you can remove the person, yes. Easier said than done, but you can do
I
it.
was really grateful that our attorney was here because I looked to him and said, okay, and he's going, okay, you have two choices. You can either leave or sit down, or we can adjourn the meeting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Did he end up sitting down?
He ended up sitting down.
That's good. Okay. Wow. Okay. In terms of notice requirements, you guys know there's different notice requirements. At bare minimum, there has to be 24 hours notice of a meeting. For different items on the agenda, there's different notice requirements. We take care of that for you, but it's not a bad idea when you have any item on the agenda to just ask, have the notice requirements been met? 'Cause that's an easy way for, an action or recommendation to be undone, if you will. Okay. Let's see. In terms of notice for emergency meetings, you guys are probably aware that the statutes require the best notice practicable. Most of the time, I think you can still conform at least to the 24-hour notice requirement, but just something to keep in mind that it may be shorter for emergency meetings. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
That's it. And
Is
yeah,
there
ask
ever a
questions.
need for us to have an emergency meeting?
That's a good question. It'd be, like Darren said, very seldom. So I think the statute says something like unforeseen circumstances, then it actually goes on to define emergency. And I don't remember the definition off the top of my head, but this is going to be really limited.
Really rare.
Yeah.
It would have to be something that would be in conjunction with city council, I would believe, to
Yeah.
be because really, what's an emergency that you guys,
The planning.
as a recommendation board?
It's a good point. Yeah.
Well, we had one time, they wanted to do something here. There was a similar thing in St. George that the city council, they invited the city council to go over and look at the project so you could see what it looked like in the wild. And that was it was a 24-hour, they're like, hey, we're gonna do this tomorrow. And
Yeah.
the notice was a text,
Mhm.
but it's extremely rare.
Yeah, extremely rare. Just the way this act is written, most things are supposed to be open. It's just how it is. So very
makes
limited
sense.
circumstances. Do you guys have any other questions? Okay, I know you already went through this once, so. Okay.
Or a few times.
Yeah, more than a few times at this
We've been
point.
on the council for a few years.
Okay,
Thanks, David.
do we need a motion to adjourn?
Yes, we do need a motion. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I second it. And a vote.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Thank you.
okay.
Nice short meeting. That was great. Yeah. It's kind of exciting, all this commercial stuff going on.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, that's great.
So what happens in, like with the sign company, so it goes to, so it'll go to the arbitration judge, it sounds
We'll go
like.
to, so we call it the appeal authority.
Right, the appeal authority.
Yeah, so we have an appointed